My dear friends, coming from every corner of the globe, your presence here reminds us of the global character of the challenge before us. At stake is the well-being of the earth, our common home. And the world situation leads us to discover that different yet important perspectives are ever more intertwined and complementary. The riches of faith and of spiritual tradition, the seriousness of scientific research, and the concrete effort at various levels of both government and civil society, all for an equitable and sustainable development. And so, as you may know, and it's been referred to several times this morning here, a similar concern for the well-being of the earth, our common home, has made Pope Francis publish last June 18th an encyclical on integral ecology entitled Laudato Si and the Care for Our Common Home, the same expression, care. And it is important to reflect deeply on that expression. In the past, we were used to hearing about stewardship of creation. Now, the expression most popularly used in the writings of Pope Francis has been the care. We can express and live stewardship without any personal deep sense of commitment. But when we care for something, it is with passion, and it is with a heart, and with a lot of commitment and an attachment. That's why the Pope talks about care, and that's why we gathered here this morning also to celebrate the need to care for the earth. It's an invitation to embrace our commitment to the earth and to the universe with a sense of passion, not only with thoughts and ideas, but also with the heart. When the Holy Father, Pope Francis, then talks about and develops his care for integral ecology, ecology of the human person, and ecology of the earth, he highlights the fact that humanity, in fact, is not separate from the environment. Pope Benedict had said the book of nature is one of humanity and one of nature. Pope Francis also wanted to highlight the accelerating change in climate and to affirm that this is undeniable, that it is catastrophic and it is worsened by human activities. But it is also amenable and can be changed by the same human person. He also affirms that the grave errors that increase our disastrous indifference to the environment include also a throwaway culture of consumerism and a naive consequence that technology and technological advance can fix every problem. Then he emphasizes and invites us all to address the ethical nature of our commitment and the ethical nature of our cities, both through dialogue and by recovering our fundamental spiritual dimensions. So, a big point that Holy Father makes in that encyclical is that realities are more important than ideas. And so whatever we think about and say, we need to follow it up with deep and sincere commitment. Commitment to seeing what we think about and what we propose come to reality. In fact, the central question asked in Laudato Si in this encyclical is similar to the concern that has brought us here. And it is, what kind of world we would want to bequeath to our children? And following this up, the Holy Father devolves this and will simply invite us to recognize that an environment will not be able to sustain life after us, nor place an unending strife among people unless, again, we embrace a commitment to change and to improve upon it. And so the challenge to us is we receive the garden as our home, and we may not turn it into wilderness for our children. That simply would not be fair, and that simply would not be just on our part. The garden we received must be passed on and bequeathed always as a garden, a place taken care of and a place nurtured and developed. And so, my brothers and sisters, Pope Francis would wish us to know that the climate is a common good, a global common, if you want, belonging to all and meant for all. Yet the costs of climate change are being borne disproportionately by those who have least contributed to it. Overall, climate change is a global problem with a spectrum of serious implications: environmental, social, economic, and political. And so facing our leadership is the urgent need to develop policies so that in the next few years, the emission of carbon dioxide and other highly polluting gases can be drastically reduced. The use of highly polluting fossil fuels, especially coal, especially oil, and to a lesser degree gas, need to be progressively replaced without delay with intelligent and widespread access to and use of renewable energy, facilitating this energy transition that we gathered here to pledge ourselves to. So, lamenting the failure of past global summits on the environment, the Holy Father wishes in the encyclical to call urgently for enforceable international agreements to stop climate change. He gives very many practical examples at different levels of what can be done to reverse the trend of global warming and to reduce some of the negative impact of climate change. And so does pray for a favorable outcome of this session, just as what will follow in December this year. The COP21 Conference for Climate Change here in November, from November 30th to 11th of December, will be very crucial in identifying strong solutions for climate change, accompanied by the gradual framing and acceptance of Biden commitments. The sustainable goals, then, also to be celebrated earlier on in September, are relevant in this context. For the 13 proposed sustainable development goals all do correspond and relate closely with the events related with climate change. Goal number 11, for example, makes cities and human settlement inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Goal number 12 would have us ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. And goal number 14 would have us conserve and sustainably use the ocean, the seas, and the marine resources for sustainable development. Just as goal number 15 would have us protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, and halt and reverse land degradation, and so halt biodiversity loss. And so, my dear friends, the single biggest obstacle to the imperative to change course is not economic and it's not scientific. It's not even technological. Rather, what it is that it's our minds and our hearts that can stand in the way of our decision to change course. So at the end of the day, it is conscience and it is our ethical commitment. The same mindset which stands in the way of making direct decisions to reverse the trend of global warming also stands in the way of achieving the goal of eliminating poverty once and for all. And a more responsible overall approach is needed then to deal with both problems, the reduction of polluting and the development of poorer countries and regions. Such a courageous reform will take place only if we heed the call to seek other ways of understanding the economy and of progress. The political decisions and dimensions need to re-establish democratic control over the economy and over finance, and to recognize that while dimensions of this are local and particular, their implications are transnational and global. And so, the path before us is a challenging one that demands particularly from the developed world humility, sobriety, and sacrifices, that all may share in the boundless wonders and blessings that we receive from God to make this our home. And this is the part. This commitment to changing course is the part of the entire human family. It is the part that has brought us all here, and it is the part that's going to lead us all to COP21 here in France come November and come December. And our prayerful wishes is that when the world leaders do gather here next November and December, they'll be as committed to realizing a course and changing course as we are committed in gathering here this few days. And our prayers accompany you all. And so while we do congratulate you, Mr. Hulot, and the government of France for having hosted this, so do we commit the future commitment to a change of course into the hands of God for his own courage and for blessings. Thank you.